The truth is, we live as part of this created reality, and just searching within the system itself, right, within our created world, we will never find the answers to life's truest questions. We need someone outside of the created world to reveal to us what life is all about. Basically, we need someone outside who created life himself to give us the answers. And of course, only God is that person, right? Because only God existed outside of life itself. You see, uh, and in fact, God does tell us what life is about. He has given us the Bible, right? And so throughout introducing God, we will be looking at a few verses of the Bible, right, in the different count, just so that we can understand who this God is. Remember, you can try to find God in yourself or in spiritual journeys and all that, but that's as pointless as someone within the dream trying to escape the dream himself. He needs someone outside of that dream to tell him what reality is. And so it's got to come by revelation. And we have that revelation in the Bible. Now, in the Bible, God does tell us what life is about, what reality is about. Now, the first sentence of the Bible itself tells us this. Genesis 1 verse 1, it begins like this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, we just stop and think about that verse. And if you just meditate on that verse, you actually uncover many deep truths about what life is about. In fact, just the first four words itself, just the first four words, in the beginning, God, is huge. Because when it says in the beginning, God, this means that at the very beginning, right, before we even talk about the creation of the heavens and the earth, right, at the very beginning, before the heavens and the earth were made, before the first atom even existed, before there was even anything and everything, there already was God. He was there. In fact, if he was there already at the very beginning, it also means that he was already there not only at the beginning, but before the beginning of all things. You know, some people ask, right? Um, they ask, if God made everything, if God created everything, then who made God, right? Who created the creator? And a lot of times it's atheists which throws out these questions, right? They think that somehow with this question, you know, they've stumbled the Christians or they've completely destroyed any argument for God, right? Basically, they're saying, you see, who created God? You know, and then yeah, just leave the Christians to be dumbfounded. But actually, that's ridiculous, right? That's in fact crazy because that question itself doesn't make sense. There's no one who created God because the very definition for who God is that He has always been. He has no beginning. He was never created. He has always been. In fact, in a very strange way, it doesn't sound grammatically correct, but it's actually very accurate, right? Which is that the best way to talk about God is that God just is. You know, God is. That's all. He is self-existent. He is self-existent. When God first appeared to Moses, right, and Moses, the prophet Moses, he asked God, "How do I tell the people about who you are?" And God says this in Exodus 3 verse 14. He replied to Moses, "I am who I am." And this is what you are to say to the Israelites: "I am has sent me to you." You see, this is the name and the identity that God gave to Moses in terms of how he's going to explain who has appeared to him. God is saying that when he says, "I am who I am," God is saying that he defines the reality of who he is himself. He is, in fact, absolute reality itself. He's not bound to anything. Now, you think about yourself, right? You can never say, "I am who I am." You can't. You can't say, "I define my existence myself. I define the reality of who I am myself." You can't say, "I am who I am." Because if you're Chinese, you can't say, "I am Indian." If you're female, you can't say, "I'm a guy." If you're 40 years old, you can't say, "I'm a 12-year-old." You can't. You are bound by reality. because you are a created being. Reality is bigger than who you are. Whereas God himself, he's not bound by reality. He himself is reality. He defines reality. And in fact, not only you can't say I am who I am, you also can't say I am. You can't. To say I am means that you have always been and you will always be. You're never able to say I am because before you were born, you weren't. You did not exist. There was no you, right? And neither can you say I will be because you won't always be. There will be an end to your existence, right? Whereas God, he did not come into being and neither will he go out of being. He is and he will always be. He was, he is, and he will always be. He is self-existing. And when you think about that, it really puts your life into perspective, right? Because I mean, every human being, we usually think of reality as beginning with ourselves. We define reality in terms of how I think, how I feel, how what I believe, right? And we often go through thoughts like this, right? We think reality is always defined from the inside. If I feel that life sucks and that life isn't worth living, then therefore life just isn't worth living. And also I'm gonna commit suicide. Reality defined by us. If I feel like I'm a woman, even though I have the body of a man, then I am a woman. If I believe that there is no God, therefore there is no God. The I think, therefore I am. Now that is definitely a very flawed way of thinking. Because you see the flaw in answering questions that way, right? Questions about who you are, your identity, your gender, your purpose, your life's goal, you know, what the universe is about. The flaw with answering those questions in terms of yourself, reality as defined by yourself, is it's just delusional because you don't get to decide what reality is. You're not God.